Oh, Primate, how I'm not quite sure what to say about you. Y'all, you're going to want to maybe think twice about this movie. It kind of depends on what your vibe is, but we're going to talk about it and I'll let you know what I thought of it. Now, the movie's name is Primate. I watched this on streaming. It is a 2026 film, and I watched it on Paramount, I think it was. So it was technically free, but I mean, I pay for that platform to watch things on. Now, I'll tell you when we're going to enter into complete spoiler alert. So this is just going to be the generic what it's about and my thoughts on it. And I've got my other phone here for my notes and whatnot. Okay, so this is, like I said, it's named Primate 2026, and it came out at the beginning of this year in January. It came out by Paramount Pictures. And that's where I watched it on was a streaming thing. The director is Johannes Roberts on this. They're known for 47 Meters Down, Resident Evil, um, and so there's that. So we'll talk about my thought processes on that because I like 47 Meters Down. Okay, so I'm going to give you the synopsis of it. So this is about a character named Lucy. This is a college student. She returns home to her family's place in Hawaii. Now, the family has this chimpanzee named Ben. Now, Ben is basically like an extension of the family, okay? And literally treated like that, integrated into the household, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so Ben ends up getting exposed to rabies and goes a little bit wow wow, okay, and ends up becoming a horror filled weekend at home with all of her friends. Now, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and say this right off the bat. It is what it is. Even though there is carnage in this and all that type stuff, I overly felt bad for Ben. I just do. I know it's bad. I hated seeing the things that Ben did to people in the film, but I still just had this, empathy for Ben. That being said, of course, I had empathy for the characters and whatnot. Now, okay, so the pluses of this is it kind of a unique type situation? Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, we've seen this before. I remember, I think it's called Monkey Shines, was an older film, where basically animals are turning against their owners. Imagine Planet of the Apes, but slasher film version, right? So in that way, is it like entertaining? Was it good background stuff? Absolutely. Okay. Now, if you're looking for anything of substance, whether it's like the character development, actually the whole plot being fleshed out even more, you're probably going to be like, huh? But if you're somebody like me who you're scrolling and you're like, what's this? Oh, I remember that. Oh, this seemed like a different take on something, put it on, right? Um, my whole thing of did it make me put my phone down? No, like this was one where I was like, we're gonna have to pause and take a social media break because I need to scroll for a minute. Okay. So there's that vibe to it, right? So yeah, it's not getting a slice of spice and the dice from me. It's like a 3 out of 5 star kind of a vibe. Again, if you're just somebody who's like me, who you're always going to want to see what's latest, what's all that, sure, go ahead and watch it. It is gory. It is, remember, it's an animal horror film, right? So you're going to see stuff that you're like, yikes. I'll go ahead and say this: Ben at times appears to be CGI, other times he seems to be a bad costume, right? I was like, that's part of it where I'm getting pulled out of the film with that. The acting, very superficial characters, very superficial characters, right? You're not really getting to know them that much, and it's pretty predictable. But again, if you're looking for like that, kind of like not edge of your seat, even, but how do you say it? Like maybe anxiety, tension. It did give that. And again, it's pretty bloody and gory in several scenes. So if you're looking for that, it's definitely going to have it. Now, let's just go ahead and enter into spoiler alert so I can freely talk about it. So again, if you don't want to know anything else about it, sure, put it on, use it as background noise. You might get into it, right? It's not a bad film, but it really just missed the mark in general for me. Okay, so count of three, we're in spoiler alerts. One, two, three. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the whole plot. So, like I said, this is about Ben. He is exposed to rabies. You see an opening scene. The opening scene is bloody, y'all. Okay, it's bloody. You're seeing, because when you think of this situation, most people think of that woman who got her face ripped off, and it reenacts that, right? So that's what you enter into, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So then again, you see the whole situation. The girl and all her friends are coming home. Her father is I believe, well, I'm pretty sure he's deaf. I don't know if he has something else going on. And the only reason I mention that is because it becomes a major plot point later in the film when he is away from the house and they are trying to get a hold of him and he comes home, and it creates a good level of tension because you're like, oh my gosh, because all this stuff is going on in the back, with him standing there and he doesn't see it or hear it. So there's that. Okay, so the father, I cannot remember his name, but he is the one that is basically like, say, the owner, the trainer, the relationship with Ben. And Ben has like these things where he walks trying to compress buttons, and it'll say, Lucy or this or that or food or whatever, right? Ben is literally like a child in this house. So when all these friends come home, it just makes me uncomfortable because at this point I've seen too many chimpanzee documentaries and people who own these exotic animals, and they go berserk and they do crazy stuff to people. And that's where I feel bad for Ben in this, because even though I know it's a horror film and it's fake and Ben, like I said, is a costume and CGI, it just, when anything like this, I just feel bad for the animal, right? So it creates this odd effect in that way. Of course, I feel terrible for the people getting killed in the movie, right? There's some bloody scenes where Ben, like rips faces off. He's ripping jaws apart. He's bludgeoning people to death. It's wild. Um, but here's the thing. So the characters are literally so superficial in this, you don't really have time to get to know any of them to care if they're killed or not, except maybe the father, right? Well, he leaves for a while, so it's just the kids at the house, and it quickly goes down south when Ben's like rabies exposure goes berserk or whatever. And they learn that Ben can't swim, and so they have to essentially be in the pool. And I'm like, that's a pretty good premise, but there's a kill scene in the pool very soon into it that kind of makes you like, Ben's a little too human. It doesn't seem as authentic, right? You almost could have gone the direction in this, instead of it making like Ben as Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, it could have been more realistic. And I don't know another way to say that. This felt just gimmicky, where I was like, you could have taken the gimmicky aspect out of this and made it more real life. Imagine like this. Imagine if A24 got a hold of the script. Okay, like A24, the production house, and they got a hold of this and gave it that grainy Chainsaw Massacre documentary style, as opposed to, here's this, chimpanzee Ben, who essentially you kind of feel sorry for, because it's like he feels like an exotic pet that went wild, right? And so it shifts your sympathy, and maybe it's supposed to do that. Yeah, the scenes where like Ben's like on top of the people, like a couple of scenes, and it's gonna come. Like there's a couple of scenes where her friends will arrive at the house, they don't know what's been going on, they don't know all this carnage, and they're just freely walking around the house, and you're like, oh my god, Ben's gonna kill you. And like one where he thinks Ben's trying to be friendly, and he ends up on the bed, and Ben's like doing this thing where you put your arms, and I'm like, is Ben gonna do something adult to him? I'm like, where are we going with this, Ben? And Ben rips his jaw off, and it's so gruesome, and the guy's still alive, and then it's really gruesome. But for horror film blood gore, it's, okay, they did it good, right? So it just left a lot to be desired. I mean, we're watching it, Matt and I are watching it, we're like, this is like bordering on stupid. I mean, it was just that gimmicky, because it was like there's one whole thing, okay, where one of the characters, well, they're all trying to get a phone. Y'all, it's your standard, when they have the chance to get the phone, they run up there, Ben gets in front of them, of course, and they'll get the phone and then decide to do five other things before they call 911. I'm like, honey, I would have locked myself in somewhere and called 911. And a lot of horror films where they fall short, I'm sorry, is where, if you look at the story arc, the complication that you need to give the character. For me, a good horror film is when you put the character in something and you say, how will they ever get out of this? There's no way. And then you make that even more complicated, right? If you go back to the basics of storytelling, where you have to give the characters complications and problems and issues, that's what makes the story a story. And so when these horror films are just kind of like superficial, and it's like, I know we have to make them get the phone to call 911, but we'll complicate it by them running to five different rooms and then falling down and dropping the phone before they can call 911. And it's like, that's not, that's lazy writing, right? It's like you could come up with something way better. And I felt like that's what this film did. Again, I felt like they had a chance to take something and really just make it more realistic, but instead it just was gimmicky. Now, let's go back to the director. Like this person that like working on 47 meters down, whatever. I liked 47 meters down. I liked it. I feel like I even enjoyed the sequel, but I can't remember. But like I'm always up for a good shark movie and stuff like that. And again, I feel like shark movies and I'm trying to think alligator movies, snake, those frighten me. When you get into chimpanzees and stuff like that, I don't know. I guess it's because I'm an animal person, and I just feel too much sympathy for the animal. And there's moments where Ben's like remembering, like, oh, that's Lucy, or you can tell like his brain is infected or whatever with the rabies. And you just feel bad for him, And even though he's like slaughtering this house off, and that was the other thing too, where I mean, it was literally like Jason Voorhees got a hold of this house, and I'm just like, trust me, they can do. They're very strong animals, but it was just ridiculous in that way. And that's the word I would use for the film, is like ridiculous. It was almost like it needed to go full throttle into a dark comedy, right? And then that's where it would have resided, a gore dark comedy, and that's where it needed to be. But they were trying to do too many things at once. And I was like, thank God I didn't go to the theater and see this, because I would have been kind of pissed if I spent like any amount of money, like, popcorn, all that, to go see this. I would have been like, seriously, this is really cheesy. But again, to have something on in the evening at your own home, cool, great, go for it. So, yeah, is it a run out and watch it? No. But basically, if you already pay for this platform and you have it and it's something new and you're down for it, go for it, right? Totally cool. And it'll give you some moments of like, I can't, like, I had to pick the phone up because of the tension that it would create, where I'm like, I know the monkey's about to rip his face off and I can't take it. So it does create that energy right there. Okay. But it missed the mark in my opinion. So that's it. So that's it. If you watch it, let me know what you think down in the comment section. And then let me know if there's anything else you want me to watch. I don't have any other plans right now of what's on my list next. Usually what I've been doing recently is just going down at night and scrolling as far as horror film goes. I do the true crime and I watch the true crime docs, and I'm still working on the Israel Keys one. But sometimes, especially this Lindsay Clancy trial going on, if you follow me on those channels, I just need like some alleviation from that. And so I'll be like, let's, put on a comedy show or a random horror film. So it's just like a spur of the moment thing. But if there's something you want me to see, let me know and I'll go check it out. Anyways, I love y'all. Thanks for being here. We'll talk soon.